Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Good morning. Episode 4, Dr. Matalone. And the first question really will get everybody introduced to you. It's, what's your story? Like, how did you get from where you were? You can go back as far as you want.
Sure.
Talk about your childhood, why you wanted to be a doctor in the first place.
Yeah.
You were obviously a conventional doctor. And then how you got to where you are now.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm 62 years old. I've been working in the medical system since I was 19 years old. I was a psychology major in college. I knew I wanted to work with people. And I decided, and I grew up mostly my life in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Got a job at Tucson Medical Center thinking, well, let me see if I want to do the medical thing. And long story short, I did ultimately decide I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't get into medical school right away. But God had a plan for me, so here I am later. I was conventional, as you said. I was an emergency room doctor for probably 11 plus years, and then I switched over to being holistic, which I call common sense medicine, because it is common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I figured out that if you need drugs, great, give me the drugs to save a life. But then as I progressed through the holistic journey, I figured, well, you don't really need too many drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can. What's really the root cause of the problem? Why you have this medical problem? Fix it. Don't just put a Band-Aid on it with drugs, which actually makes things worse generally anyway. So yeah, basically common sense is what I'd say. How I got to where I am.
Was there a specific moment where you were something happened in your conventional practice and you're like,
Sure.
okay, something's got to change?
Yeah, several, but the primary thing was drugs again. As we all see on television at night, turn on the TV and you have all the lawyers, saying if you took this drug or had this done, now you're suing, right? Because what went wrong? Well, where's the science there, right? It was all skewed, manipulated data. And after writing many drugs in my own career and having heard of other drugs in my career being pulled off the market, what does that say? Right? Again, it's manipulated science.
Yeah.
And so Duract was this one drug back, I think it was Pfizer that made it, I believe. And as an ER doctor, look at the opioid crisis we have in the country today, right? We all know about that. And ER doctors, they get plagued by drug seekers, and you could give them this Duract drug all you want, and they're not going to get addicted. So I said, awesome, to the drug rep.
Yeah.
And so whatever it was, 6, 8, 9 months later, I kept hearing about people dying from taking this drug, damaging livers and whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But in my career, as I said, there were multiple drugs, Seldane, Hismanol, and plenty of others that got pulled off the market. So the light bulb went off in my head after that Duract thing, that I was nothing but a pimp, what I say, for big harmia. Big pharma. Big harmia. Yeah. So that's when I woke up, and that was about 20 years ago.
Yeah. And if you could shed some light, I'm vaguely familiar with how the big harmia or big pharma works in terms of selling to doctors, really. Who essentially, like you mentioned, become pimps for them because the more they sell, they get a cut and all that stuff. So if you could shed some light on how that actually works for me, and then also for anybody that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's happening these days. Way back in the past, you heard all these stories that doctors would get kickbacks, and I think they changed the rules on that. I never got any kickbacks. Lots of dinners and stuff like that they would sponsor. I never got to go on any trips.
From the pharma.
Yeah, the pharmacy companies, the drug reps. I have another name for them, but I'm not sure if I should say it. Drug whores. Yeah. In any case, the conventional medicine is just pharmacological approach, and that's all it is, right? And when that fails, they cut it out or burn it out. But you got a problem, it's a drug deficiency, right? And that's honestly what conventional medicine is. It's not too hard, really, to be a doctor, I'd say, because it's hearing your symptoms, what symptoms the patient has, and then what drug do I match it up with? Yeah. And the good-looking drug rep, we'll say, who comes into your office very frequently, in some practices it's like every day, practically, right? And so here's the drug you can give them, Dr. Smith, whatever. So that's what it was.
Have you ever seen Dope Sick?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
It's a dramatized, it might not be that dramatized, but it's essentially, I think it's based on true stories about reps in the opioid crisis. And some of the stuff, I didn't even finish it. But it was pretty tough to watch at some points because you actually watch people's lives even a doctor in the show, and I think it might have really happened. I'm sure it happened throughout the country.
Yeah.
A doctor gets addicted, and that's when he's like, oh, wait, they're telling everybody this isn't addictive.
Yeah.
They're telling this is completely fine. And then millions, or maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands of people died from opioid addiction.
Absolutely. So. And literally this week I heard of a patient who was telling me her large family, there were like 11 kids, and a brother who was 28 years old got addicted to narcotics from a broken arm or something like
That's
that.
how it happens.
And he killed himself.
Yeah. Well,
I heard that this week.
We have a family that's an absolute tragedy. I mean, but the thing that's sad about it is it's not too uncommon. We have a very good family friend who passed away several years ago from a drug overdose, and his drug addiction started with a broken bone.
Well, there you go.
And what do they give him? Like one of the strongest painkillers you can get. And
probably because way back the doctors were told, oh, they won't get addicted to it. It's no big deal. True, that's what you hear throughout your medical training.
Sure.
Oh, it's no big deal. Sadly, right, every drug has side effects, and I'm big on educating patients. By the way, doctor, docere in Latin means teacher.
Really?
So I tell every patient of mine, I'm nothing but a teacher. I didn't know that when I graduated pharmaceutical brainwashing school, right? You're nothing but a pimp, again, as I said, for them. But you're really a teacher. So teach people why they have the problems they have. Fix it, hopefully naturally, without drugs. If you need the drugs, okay. But in any case, that's all they know is drugs.
Yeah, and to me, it's what's the word? You treat the regular conventional medicine practice most often treats symptoms that causes more symptoms.
Right. And one drug begets another drug.
Instead of treating...
and in teaching the patients, there's a great app, by the way, folks listening. It's free. It's Hippocrates, Epocrates, play on words of Hippocrates, the father of medicine, so the electronic version. And you can pay for the upgraded version. You don't need it, so it's free. You can put it on your phone, and I go over this with every patient who's coming to me, because half the time it's the symptoms they have is the drugs they're taking many, many times. So I go over that. Look, let's look up the drugs you're on, and look, here it is, the serious and common side effects or adverse reactions. And there it is in black and white. Common because they're common, right? Common side effects.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a app where you can basically just look up any drug.
Yep. Set up an account. It's easy to do. It takes you probably 5-10 minutes to
do. I know several people that take one drug or multiple for a certain set of symptoms, and then take one or other drugs
for the side effects
of said symptoms, and then it's like it's just this negative spiral. I took ADHD medicine, you could call it, or you could call it meth. Speed. It's all speed. For 7 years, I took essentially an amphetamine for every day of my life, and I stopped taking it because my friends would make comments about me, like, dude, you're like a different person. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? I'm a different person when I take this? Because then it would wear off and I'd like just act differently, and I didn't want to do that. And then Dr. Andrew Huberman, who I don't know if you are familiar with, he had a podcast about like ADHD and focus. And then another one on dopamine, where he basically talked about amphetamine increasing your dopamine over baseline like 10x or something crazy like that. And I'm like, I took an amphetamine every day of my life for 7 years.
Sure.
So
burn out your brain. They say there's
hopefully it's not
increased incidence of dementia down the road from all that speed, overdriving your nervous system.
Well, let's hope.
And again, why did you have ADHD? Right. So real important is the center of all health is the gut. You have to fix your intestinal tract, the gut. And Hippocrates, mentioned him earlier, the father of medicine, said in 330-ish BC, all disease begins in the gut, and those who do not understand food will never understand the diseases of man. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Wow. A lot of people know the last part, right? Medicine be your food part. But he said that. That's very relevant to any medical problem, including psychological problems. In fact, there's the GAPS book. Some people know it as the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, GAPS, by a Russian woman doctor. I've seen lectures several times. It's in my pile of books over there, the stack of books. Gut and Psychology Syndrome, right? GAPS book. Because I don't care what problem you have, mental health or otherwise, the real root cause is your gut.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to my mom about that recently. Just from like an evolutionary standpoint, food is like the most important thing for us. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know anything about the gut really, but it just intuitively makes sense to me that the amount of information that's being sent throughout the body from our gut and our stomach,
Yeah.
based on what food we're getting, what food we need, and all the
Yeah.
downstream effects of that
It's your second brain, if
Yeah.
you've ever heard that term.
I never have.
Your gut literally is your second brain.
Yeah, it makes
and here's
sense.
some interesting stuff. When you're developing as an embryo in utero, right? Your gut and your brain are part of the same layer. I think it's the mesoderm
Really?
layer. Right. And so to this day, right, the second brain, if you get some bad news, grieving, whatever, do you get a headache or you get like the butterfly gut
Yeah.
feeling? Yeah, because something like 90% of your serotonin and dopamine is made in your gut,
Really?
not your brain.
Wow.
Right? There's a lot of neurotransmitter activity down in your gut. The
I didn't
gut
know
is
that.
the center of the immune system.
Yeah.
It's huge. You're fixing nothing until
So
you
gut,
fix it.
let's break that down a little bit. Gut is, that's a vague term describing basically just
your,
the general digestion.
so mouth to anus is your intestinal tract.
Mhm.
The gut, the center of the gut, I guess you'd call is the small intestine.
Mhm.
In my office where we're sitting, there's posters on the wall. That one
Oh,
over
okay.
there, intestinal health. Well, intestinal health, it is your health.
Yeah.
Right, and they're depicting what? There's your small intestine strung out on the left to show you what a healthy eubiotic gut looks like, and then a dysbiotic gut on the right, where a lot of people have heard of leaky gut syndrome. Intestinal hyperpermeability is the more medical term. But yeah, you've got literally cracks and gaps, holes in your gut, in your intestinal tract, that things are leaking through it, like food molecules, for example. That's why certain foods, gluten, dairy, eggs, all these food sensitivities you might hear about
Yeah.
in patients, it's because, well, those molecules are leaking through the hyperpermeable gut.
Gotcha.
And so you can react multiple ways. Right, you're supposed to be absorbing those nutrients in the villi, the little finger-like projections. They're up on the left there, but they're all sparse and broken, and see all the cracks and gaps. So yeah,
Yeah.
things leak into the bloodstream directly, and your immune system, God gave it, is there to attack any foreigner.
Yeah.
And it does. It sets up an immune response, and you can manifest in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
Fatigue, headaches, eczema, sinus problems, mental health problems, belly pain, rashes, so on and so forth.
Makes sense.
From a leaky gut, and the good news is it's fixable. You just have to go to a practitioner who knows what they're doing to first acknowledge, because conventional medicine, what leaky gut? What's that? Yeah, never heard of that.
I've heard of
Right.
I've heard of their
Yeah.
heard some people be reluctant to
Yeah.
accept that or to speak about it.
Right. Well, and I get the mentality of conventional medicine mindset, because I was one of them for
Yeah.
a long time. And then I woke up, I say, right? Why didn't I learn all this cool stuff? Again, everything was, you got a problem, here it's a drug deficiency.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but true. But anyway.
I don't know what the total market cap of the pharmaceutical industry, but it's I was
Trillions,
told
I'm sure.
a couple years ago to follow the money,
No, of course.
and
we
it's
all
like
know that
okay, well,
expression.
you follow that money trail. It's like the amount of influence that you can impart with hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars,
Yeah.
via marketing, via fabricated studies, via
Exactly. It becomes
lying
the
by
norm.
omission, meaning like maybe you do a study, but
Oh, yeah.
you
Keep out the
hey,
bad
that's
stuff.
a little bit of an inconvenient truth, so
Right,
hey, keep
can't-
that out. But then the
right.
study's legit, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Statistic-
when you follow that massive money trail, it really starts to make sense to me, and
Yeah.
it's actually a great segue.
Statistical manipulation
Yeah,
takes you far.
you
Yeah.
can,
I've
but it's
had
still lying.
PhDs from the CDC as patients years ago that after having these discussions about big pharma, blah, 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 and they said, well, they were kind of hanging their head in shame. I do remember that. It was probably 10, 12 years ago or longer, but they said, well, you're right, doc. Show us the results you want. We'll give it to you. And again, that's proven, right? Remember the TV ads? Well, if it was so safe and effective and, right?
Yeah.
But then wait, now all these people are dying and all that. Well, why?
Yeah.
Where was the breakdown
Yeah,
there,
where's the
right? Because
data?
of what you exactly said.
It's
Yeah, it's all manipulated.
I think of it similar as like the social media phone type stuff, because it's hard to blame the individual, even though I think you can. That's a different discussion, I guess. But it's
Yeah.
very hard to blame somebody who's on the receiving end of those trillions of dollars of influence. Like it's hard to face down the barrel of trillions of dollars
Yeah.
and be able to be like, maybe that's not the truth, or maybe there's something else, because it's pretty powerful weapon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. We all know that.
But that's actually a good
But then
segue
there's
into the
right and wrong and morals, right?
Yeah.
Beyond all that, and that's where humans fail.
yeah.
Too many of them. sadly.
you mentioned the gut,
Mm-hmm.
which you said is the first priority.
Yeah.
What do you believe people's priorities should be for their health? Like, you can do it chronologically in order or however you feel, but what are
I
like
guess
the
what you
basic...
put in or on your body should be clean,
Mm-hmm.
the way God intended it, all right? The whole organic movement, well, organic's not anything new. It's the way it was forever until 50 years ago, give or take, right? Yeah. So any machine, I tell patients, is not going to run very well if you keep pumping bad crap into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes for your food.
Yep.
So try to eat organic as much as you can, which I get some people have affordability issues with that, but it has come down in price, right? Supply and demand rules have brought it all down.
Sure.
But still, it is a priority, and you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later, is what I tell them. So make that a priority. What you put in your body should be, clean, not full of hormones and antibiotics and all that. So food is, I guess, first and foremost. And I mentioned what you put on your body, so all these whatever, antiperspirants you might have heard of, like they're bad for you, especially if they have aluminum and all these toxic ingredients. There's no shortage of toxins, right? And there's an old rule I remember hearing about a reading is if you can't eat it, you shouldn't be putting it on your skin. That is. Because the biggest organ of your body is your skin. Over 20-something% in weight is your skin, the 3 layers of the skin.
It's an endocrine organ, correct?
It's a multiple everything organ. Yeah. So why do you think they have all these drugs, again, that are transdermal creams, patches, whatever? Because it's a very absorptive organ, and it also exudes toxins. Hence, sweating is very important.
Yep.
So the whole detox is a very important thing to discuss because, again, what you put in your body is very important, but your ability to detoxify your main organs of detox, lymphatics, liver, kidneys, right? We pee, poop, exhale.
Yeah.
And
sweat.
And sweat. Sweating is huge. I ask every patient about the sweating component.
If you could scoot in a little bit.
Yeah, if you're not sweating, and it's usually iodine deficiency, I find out a lot of times. We sweat to cool our body, but you also sweat to exude toxins.
Yeah, I heard you can actually speak on this, I guess, a little bit. Well, let me backtrack. If you can't eat it, don't put it on your body. I don't use regular sunscreen. Like, I don't use regular bug spray. I just got back from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I didn't put on regular sun spray a single time. I made my own.
Yeah.
It worked like a charm.
Yep.
And it's 3 ingredients: beef tallow, coconut oil, and zinc oxide, so I could eat it if I wanted.
Yeah.
But the story that I always tell people about, to try to open their mind to the fact that, hey, when you put something on your skin, it's going into your body.
Yes,
it is. Nicotine patches, birth control patches, medicinal patches. Those are tiny little patches that, how do you think it gets in your body and affects your whole body, right? So it's this little patch that gets in there that affects your whole body.
Yeah.
That is the exact same.
The lymph system, everything's connected. Yeah.
It's the exact same.
Everything is connected.
You spraying, I don't even know how many chemicals that you can't pronounce, that you certainly can't eat.
Sure.
On your skin, I just can't see it being
organics good. For whatever percent of people listening are eating organic, right? The Environmental Working Group, if you've heard of that group, some people know about the Dirty Dozen pesticide list or the Clean 15. Those terms were coined by the Environmental Working Group, right? So they probably have heard of the EWG one way or another, just through those terms. But that group published a study, I think it was July of 2005, and I quote this one a lot, that 10 newborn babies were in the study. They did umbilical blood cord specimens on all 10 of those kids, and there were nearly 400 toxins in every one of those 10 kids at birth. Wow. And that was 2005, 18 years ago.
Which you can
right?
imagine.
And it's even worse probably now. I mean, it was bad then, it's probably worse even now.
Yeah.
Right? So no machine, as I said earlier, is going to work very well when it's pumped full of crap.
Yeah.
Right? And they make it even worse through, it's pretty sad, right? 50-something% of births are C-sections, right? They're not even born through a healthy vaginal birth canal, and then they're cut out of the womb and vaccinated and fed bad formulas and all the crap. They start off toxic, and they only make them more toxic, so there's going to be a breakdown. And then look at children's health today. Mental health problems, or whatever organic problems, more than ever before. Well, these are the reasons why. So hence, knowledge is power, right? For lack of it, they will perish. Teach people, again, how to stay healthy. So detox, what you put in your body, these are all very important things.
Yeah.
And
So back to that question. Clean food, detoxing.
Yeah.
And
Water is critical. You're 70-something% water, right? I'm drinking some good filtered water there, and distilled water real quickly. Yep, you got your big jug right there. In glass, by the way.
Exactly.
And not
That's another
plastic. This
question.
is a glass. Hello, glass right there.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on that later.
We'll get back to the plasticine we're living in, right? But there's, again, all the toxic. Remove as many toxins from your life as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke with my driver last night from the airport. It's the second time I've spoken to him. Because we are friends with him at this point, so he takes us a lot.
Okay, great.
And he is from Ethiopia. He moved here 8 years ago. He was a truck driver. And he was driving a entire truck of water. And I believe it was also in Arizona, actually.
Okay.
But he was driving it. He pulls up to the Costco. They tested it, one bottle. They threw the entire truck away. And he's like, whoa. He asked the manager, he's like, why is that? Why am I...
like bottled water?
Yeah, plastic bottled water.
Okay.
He's like, why do they do that? And he's like, the whole thing's bad because it's so hot. It's contaminated.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, what do you drink? Like, do you drink this stuff? And the manager's like, only drink glass. So it's just funny to talk to him about that. But he also started mentioning organics. I think it's so interesting because he speaks English. He's a smart guy, but he's only been in America for 8 years. He's 40-something, 50-something years old. Yeah. And he intuitively knows. He's like, that doesn't... All that food with the bad chemicals and stuff, he's like, I don't want that in my body. So he intuitively knows. Perhaps it's because he hasn't been fed all of this bull crap all the way up until now.
Sure.
He's almost like immune to the brainwashing that's going on. But I just thought that was very interesting that he even like intuitively knew that spraying
and
food
he
with
grew up in
hormones-
Ethiopia.
He grew up in Ethiopia.
Yeah, so the whole culture is different, I'm sure, again, right? So intuitively he knew, I guess, but he also was probably taught, right, about all the toxic world stuff from when he was even a young kid.
So detoxing, just to clear that up.
On my desk right there is
Uh-huh.
that Pecana detox kit. I put every patient on that.
I got one of those at
I'm
home
presently
waiting for me.
doing it myself again. And that's a lymphatic and liver and kidney detox, homeopathic drops.
Yep.
But
I've done that once.
Yeah.
I've got another one waiting for me.
Yeah.
And
I do it 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, I was going to do it in a
even
couple
quarterly
months.
would be a good idea.
Yeah.
But the world ain't getting any cleaner, I say.
Yeah.
So the more you detox, the better.
Yeah, the other thing that I get a lot of pushback, not a lot, it's pretty harmless in the scheme of things, but people are just like, okay, don't you think that's excessive? Don't you think that's excessive? And what I always say is, in isolation, drinking out of a plastic bottle is not bad.
Yeah, if you have to, if for convenience, I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah.
I'll do that
I do it
as
too.
well. We all do it.
In isolation, eating one junk food meal with a bunch of glyphosate, maybe that's a little different. But like, you see what I'm saying? In isolation, this isn't bad. In isolation, this isn't that bad. And then you realize the deeper you get into it, this list is not short.
Right.
In fact, it's incredibly long. Okay, I just realized I thought I didn't turn the mic on. But the list is incredibly long. And so
thousands and thousands
in
of
isolation,
chemicals.
whatever. It's not an isolation. It's the clothes you're wearing. It's the water you're drinking.
It's cumulative.
Exactly.
Literally
So
on a daily basis.
as many
If you
toxins
really
as you can get away from.
sat down and from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, if you literally thought about it and wrote down, like, what am I touching, eating, drinking, whatever, that's knowingly not good for me.
Yeah.
It's cumulative. And we're all guilty of that.
Yeah,
but,
100%.
right, do the best you can, clean up your act.
Yeah.
Because you'll pay now, you'll pay later, right?
Oh, that's the other thing he said, actually, because, he's an Uber driver. He doesn't make a ton of money. I asked him, like, are you okay with that price difference? Like, it's more expensive. He's like, I'm going to pay either way, you know?
Okay, he said it.
He said, he's like, I'm going to pay later. I'm going to pay more for, like, the eggs I eat now, the
That's
water I
right.
drink now,
Exactly
or I'll be
right.
sick later and I'll pay for it.
That's right.
Another thing, I'm like, that he intuitively knows that.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so
And
cool.
how many gazillionaires are there who might be laying on their deathbed who regret, I probably should have done.
Yeah.
Money ain't going to buy you your life
exactly.
longer.
If
It's
you
a
don't
great
have
blessing if you have it to stay healthy, as long as you know to use it, because
Sure.
people are just ignorant. But right, you can't
Just thought
take
that was really
with you.
cool that he brought that
Yeah,
up, and
there you go.
he's been in America for 8 years, so
Right.
I was like, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So we got clean food, detoxing, water. What else? Priorities.
Stress,
Stress. Yeah.
yeah, minimizing stress, coping with stress. right? I ask every patient, what's your qualify your stress levels, low, medium, high, severe, or combinations of, because we all know stress kills us in the end, right? Chronic cumulative stress takes a toll on your body. It weakens your immune system.
Sure.
Your adrenal glands on top of your kidneys, right? They're the stress glands, and stress, long story short, will bring you down.
Yeah.
Right? So support your adrenal glands or stress glands nutritionally, adaptogenic herbally, glandularly, whatever it takes to get the adrenals, working. But look at your life, and if you've got things that are stressing you out, pray on it. Fix what's the big problem.
Yep.
Try to knock down your stress levels.
Yeah.
Because it will take its big toll on you.
And I think these other three, it's obvious. There's no definitive answer, but how much did the other things feed into that, and then that feed into? It's just this big, huge
It's all connected.
feedback loop. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's how can you kind of optimize all of them the most that you can.
Sure.
So you got clean food, detox, water, minimizing stress. I'm sure we could dive into each of those very, very deeply, but on the surface, anything else you can think of in terms of priorities?
Let's see. Nothing coming to mind other than the things we talked about, because those are certainly
Those are like the big four.
top of the list for sure. Don't watch the news.
True.
The fake news.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
but again, that's a form of stress. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely stress inducing.
So, no doubt.
So based on that, what are cost effective ways? Again, it's the reality of it is like we're gonna either pay right now or we're gonna pay later. So I like to think of it as it's literally an investment.
It is.
It's
an investment in your
with
health.
a tangible ROI.
Yeah.
So what are ways that people can take those first steps if they haven't already to start taking their health more seriously and living a more healthy life based on that? Find a homeopathic doctor is probably one of them that I was.
Well, homeopathic is a branch of medicine, right? More holistic or integrative. Yeah, homeopathy is a specific thing, and those are homeopathic drops, but more naturopathic road. So working with all that stuff, I guess. Water, food, those are the top priorities. Spend the extra money on getting good, clean food.
Why? That's perfect that you said that. Why organic? And obviously, glyphosate is the word that comes to mind in my mind. What are the harmful effects? What is glyphosate?
Yeah, all right.
Why is it harmful? Yeah, we could go.
Right. I show the binder we took off my desk earlier of the explosion in disease, especially since 1996. And if they can see it, we can maybe show it on the thing. Grab the binder there. Right. So 1996. Thank you, Monsanto, I call them.
Yeah,
right.
Monsanto.
Monsanto, right? Monsanto, which they are no longer. They sold themselves to Bayer. Not that I have any sympathy for them either. But in any case, Monsanto brought you glyphosate. Roundup is a common brand name people know about. Right, which people are spraying left and right, and we were all told that, it's fine, you can actually eat the stuff. I literally had a patient yesterday tell me that the patient's brother was taught long ago, you could even eat that stuff. And that's what they were, that's what they were telling people way back.
I don't touch that stuff.
Yeah, but here's a picture. Can they see it over there?
Yeah, they can see it. And then just for people that are listening, it's basically a graph that's showing what is that, 1980?
Number of people diagnosed with diabetes in the United States, a graph from 1980 to 2010, so that's 13 years old. And all these gold bars is the disease itself, diabetes, slowly creeping up through the 1980s. And then the purple line you'll see right there, then there's a bit of a jump. The purple line is glyphosate when it was applied as on crops,
as
an
corn and soy,
insecticide.
it says,
But then massive jump right there in the red line in 1996. Boom, look at that.
Yeah.
That is when genetic engineered or GMO food came to market, where they literally built into the Roundup ready crops glyphosate.
And for people that are listening, this is it's.
And there's that disease. Here's
they
another.
follow each other almost.
I've got 7 or 8 pictures. Basically the same thing. The pattern is the same. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. The pattern is the same. And there was an explosion of all disease and pre-diabetes. Diabetes is you're going to get if you don't fix what's broke. And I tell people, I don't know, 75%, 80% of people I see are insulin resistant or pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Young, old, obese, not obese, they say they're good eaters, bad eaters. 75, 80% of people have this elevated hemoglobin A1C level.
And you think that's from glyphosate?
And yep, the stuff is so omnipresent, it's everywhere, right?
What exactly is it in the body? Like, what does it do in the body?
I don't know all the biochemistry behind it, but it ruins this, Shikimadi pathway. They said it wouldn't mess up your gut flora, but oh boy, does it ever, right? I've seen pictures. You mentioned whatever that video was, but what is it? GMO, OMG? Mm-hmm. That's a good video, documentary, GMO, OMG. And that's a good thing for people to watch to really learn something about like GMOs.
GMO,
oh my God. Yeah, that's the video,
yeah.
Right? So it destroys your gut.
Yeah.
And there are pictures of, a lot of people eat, beef and cattle and animals, so they're fed all these Roundup ready crops.
Yeah.
It's very inflammatory.
Yep.
When they look at the pictures of these animals' stomachs and intestines, they're on fire. They're like red, super inflamed, right? From all the, from all the Roundup that they're consuming.
Sure.
Then in turn you eat it, and it gets in your body, and it's poisoning you. Hence, the diseases again. So never be spraying the stuff. You can use vinegar to kill weeds, but don't be lazy. Pull the weeds if you have to.
Well, hey, I got a friend in Tampa who first person I really ever met that did this. He's like, your yard doesn't have to be fescue or so they got like wildflowers growing in their yard. I'm like, hey, do that. Why don't you? Then you don't have to spray all that.
I have rocks. I have dwarf pygmy grass, things that don't have to be cut or sprayed.
Exactly. You don't have to spray.
It's all about that.
I actually, when I was doing landscaping, I had a couple people ask me, can you like round up? I was like, nope.
There you go.
Nope.
Yeah. Good.
Not gonna do that.
Yeah. So it's really literally killing us. That stuff, very inflammatory. And, by the way, you cannot break down Roundup in your body. You don't have the enzyme capability to do it. So I'm a big ozone guy.
Yeah, that was actually
huge into ozone. Why didn't I learn that in pharmaceutical brainwashing school? I didn't learn about the miracle ozone.
Yeah.
Can't make any money on that.
The FDA calls it quackery, essentially, basically. And I find that funny, just given what the FDA does approve.
Oh, the F&DA, you mean. Yeah, F&DA. I have nicknames, cute names for a lot of things.
Yeah. So just protocols to reduce or minimize glyphosate and all that stuff in the body. I did my first ozone a couple weeks ago.
I thought you and your brother were here doing it. I did one yesterday. Yeah. There's the mark right there.
Obviously, avoidance would be the
number one thing.
Number one.
Avoid it.
Which the way you do that is eating organic foods.
Right.
Because
and then people say, oh, is it really organic? I get that concept. They say up to 11% of organic is not organic. Maybe nearby fields were sprayed and whatever, but at least hopefully, again, and you could always police it even further if you really want to, find local farmers and stuff like that. Exactly right. But point being, organic principle at least, no Roundup in your body and any other chemicals. So that's first and foremost. And again, we can't break it down in our body, so that's why I love ozone for 50,000 reasons. But ozone completely destroys Roundup in your body because you cannot.
Yeah.
And Stephanie Seneff, who's a brilliant PhD professor from MIT, I've seen her lecture a number of times. She's a beautiful woman. She's great. But listen to Stephanie Seneff, Seneff, I think is her last name, PhD from MIT. And you'll hear her say, you can't break down Roundup, but ozone can completely destroy it in your body.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are learning more and more about ozone.
Yeah.
And, there's many ways of putting ozone in your body. They can come see me to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, very powerful tool for, I don't care what medical problem anyone's got. I'm going to throw ozone their way because you're breathing oxygen now. I'm breathing. Everyone's breathing oxygen, and ozone is O3, activated oxygen, and works in every pathway of your body that utilizes oxygen.
Yeah. And
does many things along the way, destroying toxins, killing any infection there is.
Yeah.
So it really is a miracle therapy. I got that book over there in the pile too.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
You just got that new machine, which is cool.
Yep, machine.
Specifically for young people my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older.
Yeah. People in general, no matter what age.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask this in two parts, kind of, because not to sound morbid, but like somebody my age hopefully has a longer lifetime, a longer lifespan left.
Yeah.
To be able to take more control of their health, and then in turn live hopefully better, more enjoyable life, more impactful life.
Yeah.
what would you specifically say to a young person, me for example, 24 years old?
Take control of your health. You said it yourself. A lot of people don't want to take control of their health. Oh, that's the doctor's job. I literally had patients years ago tell me that, because I guess I didn't figure it out myself, right? They don't want to be responsible for their own health. Yeah, that's what the doctor's for. That's why they want, I want the quick fix. I just want the pill. They don't want to take responsibility for their health.
So take responsibility is the first step.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be knowledgeable about what can harm you.
Yep.
All the things we've been talking about for the past half hour. Yeah. Minimize the toxic burden on your body, the food, the things you eat and slather on, and so on and so forth. And then that alone will make you healthier. People argue, oh, I'm genetically, predisposed to this or that. Well, we all have genes, yes, right? But genetics is influenced by the epigenetics, the environmental influences over those genes. So I heard a good analogy the other day of, what did they say, your genes is like a loaded gun, but what pulls the trigger is the epigenetics, right? You may have a loaded gun, but it doesn't have to go off.
Yeah.
Right. Learn about what can make it go off.
On that note, that's actually a question I have as well. What are resources for somebody like me that I can go learn about that? That I can go learn about things. Like
there's no shortage of them. The advent of the internet brought a lot of information, good and bad, out there. But there's all kinds of books. The pile of books I have over there.
Yeah.
Right. I always constantly am grabbing books out of the pile to don't just listen to me. Listen to these other smarter people than me. Right. Here's what they read. This book. Right. So.
Read.
Yeah, and I guess talk to knowledgeable people. Anything in life, right?
Yeah.
If you want to learn something, hopefully you go to a good source. Yeah.
But how do you best delineate between a good source and a bad source? That's a tough one.
How do you? Well, having common sense, I suppose, is part of it.
Yeah. I think following the money is probably one of the bigger things.
Yeah, what you said earlier, exactly right. For a lot of, I typically tell people if it's advertised on TV, right, it's a commercial branded thing, right there, it's all about the money, the marketing, right? So it's crap. I say avoid that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's
Go to
something like 70% of commercials are pharmaceutical.
If I was new, I guess, and I've been advised of this myself, and I tell people, well, if you have a health concern, go to your doctor or go to a health food store, perhaps, right? So you could literally be talking to people in the health food store who have a better clue about natural ways to treat it versus doctors have their place. And again, I was one of these conventional people, but learn a better, more holistic rather than pharmaceutical-based approach.
Sure.
So we stopped in a health food store last Sunday, my wife and I, and there were people all over the place, and you heard all these different, conversations going on in each little corner about what can I do for this, da-da-da-da. Yeah, there were plenty of people. The place was rocking, right? They were wanting, more natural approach to their health issues.
Absolutely. There's a good family friend of ours that has this quote. He just basically says he uses his eyes.
Yeah, so it's eyes and ears.
And eyes and ears. Yeah. It's more so even just the visual. Like visual is very important because if you're healthy, you'll pretty much look like it 100% of the time. But it's also just kind of using the intuition. Like if somebody has that sort of healthy, vital aura about them, hey, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. What are you doing about this? Where'd you learn about that? Mm-hmm. What resource? And then you kind of just start going down a rabbit hole. I don't think there's that's kind of a loaded question. I don't think there's one particular spot where this is where you get your resources. It's kind of just like start asking questions, follow the money.
To other people, you're always going to learn different things from different people who've been on their health journey, right? They took a wrong turn somewhere and then they learned this and now they're much better.
Sure.
Yeah, I get patients, again, yesterday happens all the time where, I'm the guinea pig for the family. I heard about you and what you can do for me and all this good stuff, but they're still skeptical. And, well, I'm the guinea pig. And then when they see, it happens all the time, when they start getting better, oh wow, there must be really something to that holistic approach. Yeah. Right? So that happens all the time, and I get the whole family ultimately
just intuitively makes sense.
Observation, the oldest science there is not double-blinded, triple-blinded studies. It's simple observation, people. Right. Observe what this is and what it was, and now it's this. Right? Yeah. Simple observation is the oldest science there is.
There was this meme that was, I will never forget it. It was in the height of COVID, and it was this lady very, very fat lady. It was a meme. I don't think it was a real picture, but it was a very, very fat lady on a scooter outside wearing a mask. And this very healthy young lady was running outside. And the thought bubble, or like the speaking bubble, was the fat lady saying, "Put a mask on, you're jeopardizing my health." So it's like, it's kind of like, use your eyes. I mean,
there's a lot of blinded and ignorant people out there, sadly. That's a whole other conversation.
Learn, which I agree with. I think that's, I mean, you just try to take in as much information as you can, make the best decision.
I tell my patients, you're the doctor now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're the doctor now. You've learned, go teach others.
Wow.
That's it. I don't put doctors on a pedestal like people do. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And sadly, in a conventional way, it's really sad, the whole system. But learn. You're educated now, so go teach others.
Yeah. That's
right.
Pretty much. I mean, I would hardly say I'm very educated on it, but that's literally what
you know a lot of stuff already. You do.
It's one of the reasons I wanted to start the Tyro Experience podcast, is because
we're never stop learning.
Yeah.
You're always learning. What you think you knew is right, well, then you find out, no, it's not. But you learn that through other people as well, and you'll always find other resources. Weston A. Price Foundation and all these authors of these
that is
books.
A great resource.
Absolutely, right.
There's a quote that's, if you don't think yourself 3 years ago was an idiot, you're still an idiot. And it's so true, because it's like you're always learning.
You're not changing.
Exactly.
Right.
So learn, number one. That's a great point. Take responsibility for your health. That's a choice.
Yeah.
And then I've been recently, I think that thyroid function is incredibly important.
Oh yeah.
That's almost what I recommend to people, like, as a first step, because if your thyroid's not functioning properly, it's very hard for other stuff to.
So I could talk for days on that.
Yeah.
But real quick on that, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, just because I think that.
A lot
in
of
terms
people
of steps, like taking responsibility, learn,
are hypothyroid to whatever degree they are hypothyroid. It's missed all the time in the conventional world, because I check 8 things for a thyroid panel.
Hypothyroid being
low thyroid function. Hypo, anything means low.
Yep.
Hyper means high, increased.
Sure.
But the vast majority are hypothyroid, and there's reasons why. Again, well, number one is, we talked about plastic, the plasticine.
Yep.
Guess you're going to get around to that.
Yeah.
Plastic is an environmental endocrine gland disruptor, right? All these xenochemicals, estrogens, whatever. Xeno means foreign, right? They definitely negatively affect your endocrine system, and the thyroid gland is sort of a master regulator of all your metabolism and countless other functions. That's the first thing in the binder right there. There's the poster of all the symptoms. And so many people are hypothyroid, whether they need a prescriptive drug or not, that depends on their numbers, which you have to know how to interpret. Anything in life, I tell people, I don't just settle for, it's fine, it's in range. I want it in the optimal, best part of the range.
Sure.
That goes for your lab values as well, people. But I didn't learn that in conventional, you're in range, it can't be that. Is why they miss so much hypothyroidism. It happens every day. I'm not joking. I mean, I see it 3, 4, 5 times a day, right?
And I remember. I mean, I've gotten my blood work through you several times. I feel like this is worth mentioning. Do you recommend blood tests for people? Like, is that a good first, second, third, fourth step to take? Blood
tests are always great. When you learn about hypothyroid, you'll learn about a lot of common symptoms that people, low body temperatures, and that's a whole nother thing. 98.6 is the normal body temperature. A lot of people know that, but in any case, I hardly ever see anybody with a 98.6. So much, in fact, I've heard, hasn't happened yet, but they want to even lower a normal body temperature to less than 98, whatever, 98 or 97 point something. Yeah. Because so many people have it. It's the new norm, right? Well, no, fix what's broke. But the low body temperature and all these other signs and symptoms, fatigue and tiredness, forgetfulness, depression, so many things are on this list right here that I show people.
That all relate to thyroid function.
Because it's a major regulator of your metabolism.
Yep.
Your adrenal glands on top of your kidneys, they're team players, don't treat one without the other. Right? Your stress glands, we talked about stress earlier. That's why it's so important to manage your stress.
Yeah.
Thyroid and adrenals regulate even your sex hormone stuff, right? Ovaries, testicle function, testosterone levels, etc. You got to get the above 2 right first before you start throwing them on testosterone.
And what are the above 2?
That happens all too. The thyroid and the adrenals.
Okay, thyroid.
Make sure, and you can test blood, saliva, whatever, just different ways of testing that stuff, and go to someone who knows how to interpret this stuff, right? Don't settle for what's in range. You fix so many problems.
There's a lot of resources nowadays as well for that. Because that's what I wanted to bring that up for. blood work's it's not cheap comparatively, but I mean, it's the same.
You get what you pay
principle.
for, kind of thing.
You're going
right?
to pay now, or you're going to pay later.
Right.
So the way I look at it, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Is okay. I want to know information about studies and about all that stuff, but specifically about myself. So if I can't measure what's going on with myself, then I can't base. Okay, well, I tried this and it felt a lot better, and like this specific value on the lab test went up and all that stuff. So I think blood work is very important.
Blood work is a guideline, a helpful guideline.
Yeah.
You can, again, look at hypothyroid symptoms, and again, there's that thing. A lot of people tell me, they've been to, I can tell you stories, like 5 different endocrinologists, knowing they're hypothyroid. The patient knows that because they can read, right? But no, the endocrinologist, oh, no, you're not, because your numbers are this, right?
Yeah.
Sad. Don't treat the lab test, treat the patient.
Yeah.
But the lab is a helpful guideline.
Absolutely.
So, but know how to read those labs.
Sure.
Again, coming from that world, I know what they think and what they do.
Do you have a resource for finding holistic doctors? Holistic practices? Because I have a couple friends in Tampa as well who asked.
There's different organizations out there. I'm big into ozone, so the American Academy of Ozonotherapy, their website, or oxygenhealingtherapies.com. Doctors, dentists, veterinarians, whoever that use ozone.
Oh, cool.
You can search for your state and hit the state and come up with a list of practitioners that utilize ozone. They're usually, obviously, more holistic and functional in the first place.
Yeah, it's a good proxy.
IFM is Institute for Functional Medicine, so they have obviously good practitioners, and you can get certified through that whole thing. And one of the older organizations was ACAM, American College for the Advancement of Medicine. That was one of the older organizations.
Yeah.
But they all exist still, and go on their website, and I'm sure they have the search for practitioners who do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And word of mouth again, right? The oldest thing is, who'd you go see? Who did this for you? Kind of thing. So a lot of people I get is, their word of mouth, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's no shortage of resources.
That's exactly how my family came into contact with you. I guess my mom had a colleague that
I think
came to you, and then she started coming to you, and then I came to you, and my brother came to you.
Right. Like I said, the whole family ultimately, right?
Well, because you're like, oh, wait.
Someone was the guinea pig, right? And some of these people who are really skeptical.
Well, yeah, my mom came, and she's like, I feel way better. She started taking iodine and all that stuff. And since we're talking about thyroid, iodine crisis, I haven't got the book yet, but I want to get it.
Yeah.
I think it's extremely important because if you want to talk on like why iodine's important, why selenium, all that
it's
stuff.
nutrition again, really, is what it boils down to. It's a mineral. We're so very minerally depleted in our world because food is not what food used to be. Iodine and iodide, we need both forms. And this book that you mentioned, right, the iodine crisis, what you don't know about it can wreck your life. True. For lack of one mineral, we are literally wrecking, thousands and thousands of people's lives. Because every gland in your body, your thyroid gland, adrenals, mammary glands, ovaries, testicles, pancreas, every gland needs lots of iodine, which, where do we get that in the American diet? You essentially don't, other than iodized salt, and there's always a history behind everything. They put more iodine in salt about 100 years ago because of the number of goiters, and a goiter is a swollen thyroid. Glands will get bigger when they're searching for something. They'll hypertrophy. So whether you're benign prostatic hypertrophy, a lot of bigger breasted women in the world, right? Because their mammary glands are searching for iodine, and when they get it, they literally get smaller.
Wow.
Right? Ovaries are internal, you can't see them, but a lot of women have larger ovaries or cystic or nodular ovaries. The goiter again, the swollen thyroid, all these glands would get bigger for lack of iodine, and when they get enough of it, they start functioning better. We don't get enough in our diet. Iodized salt is it in the American diet. Okinawa, the island off Japan, where it's one of the blue zones of the planet. They would live 100 years old, a lot of them, because it's a very iodine-rich seafood-based diet. Right, 13.8 milligrams a day, supposedly they average, right? And so not enough of the good guy, the good halogen, iodine and iodide, but worse is you're pumped full of bad toxins again in the same chemical family, which chlorine, fluoride, bromides. Bombarded with those three things.
So we should be drinking tap water is what you're saying. That was a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Complete
it's a joke. Complete joke. Exactly right. There are literally drugs in the water. Yeah. Chlorine gas, people, was used for what in World War I? To kill you, to burn your lungs out. So why are we chlorinating water when in most parts of Europe, ozone, they ozonate. Ozone is very, kills lots of germs. It's antimicrobial. So we should be ozonating water, not chlorinating water. Right, fluoride people will argue, all right, no, it doesn't harden your teeth. It's more poisonous than lead. In history, it was used to dumb people down, I want to say.
The pineal gland? Or
that
gland?
hardens the gland.
Yeah.
Literally, it makes people very placid and sheep, if you will. And the more toxic of the three halogen is bromine and bromides. Really? And you're sitting on a chair, by the way, that's probably full of flame retardants, right? Polybrominated biphenyls, right? New car, furniture, everything is full. These, and that iodine crisis book again lists drugs. So many drugs are bad halogens. Chlorinated, fluoridated, brominated, right? Prozac and so many other drugs. Fluoroquinolones, like Cipro. It's built into the name, fluoroquinolones, right? Yeah. Diflucan,
and so
all
what
the
do those
drugs.
do? So
they are.
So we're deficient in the good stuff, the halogen,
and you're
iodine.
getting pumped full of bad stuff.
In the same family?
Why? In the same halogen family. Look up
and
periodic
so what do those do?
They do many things. They make your glands not function very well, right? And look at all the thyroid problems, breast problems, ovary, name it. Every glandular dysfunction, right?
Well, just to backtrack 1 second, T3 and T4 are
thyroid hormones.
Thyroid hormones that are made up of.
And I taught you, right? T3 and 4 what? Iodine.
Yeah.
The name of T3, the more powerful of the two thyroid hormones, is triiodothyronine. Yeah. 3 atoms of iodine, and
so
T4 is 4.
You
need the building blocks. You need lots of iodine, but we ain't getting enough. So is it any wonder? Probably 80+% of people I see are whatever level of hypothyroidism.
Yeah.
Do they need a prescriptive drug, glandular? I don't like the synthetics.
Yeah.
Or do they need? Everyone needs iodine, but do they need maybe a supplemental thing for their thyroid?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so important. I want to emphasize that.
Trouble losing weight,
just said the
low
thyroid
energy,
is so
fatigue,
important.
all the things that the thyroid. There's 30 or more symptoms on this symptoms of hypothyroidism. I show people right there. It is right there, right? Oh, I got that, and by history alone, I tell them I don't care what the numbers are. I mean, I do. It's a helpful guideline, as I said. But by history alone, you have more than 2 or 3 of those symptoms, you're hypothyroid.
Check your thyroid.
Right, to whatever degree, subclinical or outright, whatever it might be. And then what do we do about it? Everyone needs more iodine.
I just think it's so important because you just mentioned how important the thyroid hormone is, and that it's one of the top 2. A hormone, basically, you can speak on that, but the thyroid is so important for all the other hormones. If our thyroids aren't functioning properly, then very hard
all
for us.
These other organ systems are not going to work very well.
And for it to function properly,
it affects everything.
You
your
need
heart,
iodine.
etc.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And if you don't have iodine, you literally can't make thyroid hormones.
Right. So all these systems start not doing so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, as I said, we are literally pumped full of the bad halogens. I don't even know if I want to even approach that.
Well, just a brief. So tap water, and if
get a whole house water filter system.
If people don't believe you, Andrew Huberman, who's
I've heard from him.
He's got I don't even know how many millions of followers. He's the scientific guy now.
Yeah.
He has a video as well, a podcast talking about how awful tap water is.
He's the guy we play on our. Sometimes the girls up front have him on,
I came in here one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking.
Yeah, they play him a lot.
I actually told my friends, I was like, you got a good doctor when they're playing Huberman in the lobby.
In our waiting
room. But he has
a
video as well, an entire podcast, I think, about water.
Get a shower filter at least, right? You can buy that Lowe's, Home Depot, online, whatever, $20, $30, $40, whatever it might be.
If I had my phone right now, on my Safari app, I have 2 tabs open right now. One of them's a countertop reverse osmosis filter, and the other one's a shower filter.
Exactly.
So and
if you can't afford it, interesting trivia again about I mentioned a shower filter. It is said that if you shower, average American showers 10 minutes, give or take, in city chlorinated water, it's equal to drinking a gallon or 2 of chlorinated water.
Totally.
Because again, it's a gas. You're breathing it, and it's going in your absorptive skin, in the pores of your skin.
Shower, your pores
exactly
open.
Right. You're sucking it right in.
And I actually spoke with my dad about that recently. We were talking about a steam room, and I'm like, well, I don't know what type of water they use. Yeah. Which sounds crazy.
No, not crazy at all. You have.
But then you go, I'm like, okay.
I don't want to just be steaming and sucking in city water.
Fluoride, bromine, and chloride.
Right,
exactly.
So
right. Stay away from tap water is one way. Where are those found anywhere else?
The bad halogens?
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, they are in everything.
Really?
That book, again, will show so many creams and lotions and things are full of these bad halogens. Drugs themselves are salts of a chloride, a fluoride, or a bromide. I mentioned some of these drugs. There's a whole long list in the book of all these things.
Yeah.
They are literally, there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
And
So stay away from them.
not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, I call it a conspiracy truist.
Yeah.
Right? It's true.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're pumping you full of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can induce all kinds of medical problems, profit and blah, blah, blah.
We could have a long
and
podcast
control.
on just that alone.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'm sure about
all
that.
about control. Yeah.
So, I didn't even realize that. Bromine
and bromide
are the two more powerful.
They're the worst of the three, the most toxic halogens.
And there's resources as well. I actually did this recently. You can look up and see the tests of your locality's water, and just be prepared to be very surprised.
Sure.
That it's not crystal clear. Also, look up a picture of. I've done this before. Have you ever? I'm sure you've seen the inside of water pipes nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
They're disgusting.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like disgusting. You're like, oh wait, that's coming right in. And if you don't have a filter, that's coming right into your house.
Yeah.
It's coming right through your sink. You're washing your dishes with it. Even if you don't drink out of your sink.
You're showering in it. Exactly,
all
like
this
we
stuff.
said.
So I actually have a buddy in Tampa as well who just very young guy.
It's a priority, people. Get your water as clean as you can.
Spend several $1,000s on a reverse osmosis filter.
Yeah.
And here's just another anecdotal visual for me.
Yeah.
They got their bathroom redone. Got white shower tiles.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how long, but
in what period of time? I was
going
to ask the
yellow,
question.
Turning yellow,
Yeah.
and they're like, wait a second, what? Visually, it's like, wait, this water is so much stuff, and it's turning our tiles yellow.
Yeah.
And then we're drinking that water, we're showering in that water. So he forked up the money, and he said he's been very happy with it, which I think
they're not terribly expensive.
No.
I've had a system for years that I've replaced a couple. It basically looks like a big scuba tank full of charcoal. Charcoal. Why is it in your fish tank? Right.
Yeah.
Think of the fish tank when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Charcoal. It's a binder.
Yeah.
It absorbs toxins. So your water's passing through basically whatever source of charcoal they use.
Yeah.
Right, in those big tanks.
Typically, I think I've seen 5 or 6 step RO reverse osmosis filters. There's one like you can get remineralized and stuff. But
there's just different bells and whistles you can throw on there.
So shower filters and
you don't want to RO your whole house because it wastes a lot of water. Usually people have it at the kitchen sink.
Yep.
But the rest of the house should be still filtered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, I think I can't remember the exact amount of water, but ROs do waste a significant
that wastes a lot of water. And now the water really should be used for irrigation and whatever else if it's a good system. But different story.
So far we got for young people, firstly, taking responsibility, which is an absolute choice. I agree with you.
Right. You have to be your own health advocate in today's world, sadly, but true.
Yeah.
You really can't. The doctor you go see is a pimp for big pharma. You got a problem, it's a drug deficiency.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to approach life that way, feel free. But no, thank you.
Not for me.
Yeah, exactly right.
Not for most people that will listen to this, I'm sure.
Exactly right.
Learn. We spoke about learning and different resources. I'll in the links of these in the descriptions, I'll try to put some of those resources.
Sure.
Organic food, which is for the glyphosate.
It's not anything new. It's old. It was the way it should be.
It's like it was organic, then it's not. And so now we're trying to go back. Organic food, better water, stay away from bromide, bromine.
Bad halogens.
Bad halogens.
Chlorine, fluoride, bromides, absolutely.
Anything else that you can think of, like in terms of first steps that they should prioritize?
Supplements.
Yeah,
or one person I heard call them essentials, because nowadays food isn't what food used to be, very minerally depleted and blah, blah, blah. So you sadly need to supplement with something, most people, right? So even if it's a multivit, a good one, never one a day or Centrum, they're poison, they're garbage. But a good multivitamin, if you're not getting the diet you're not getting, you should probably supplement with at least a multivitamin. And hormone D, I call it, is vitamin D. People know it is. It's really a hormone. It affects everything in your life. The best way to get vitamin D, people, is get your butt out in the sun. There it is, right? Make it the way you're supposed to. But then you mentioned earlier sunscreen and all that stuff, right? Yeah, that's a whole nother talk, right? But get out in the sun the way God wanted you to be out running around, touching the earth too. By the way, if you've heard the term grounding. Go hug a tree, literally, right? Walk barefoot, lay in the rocks.
In the ocean.
Ocean, exactly. That's why people usually feel better, because they're touching the electromagnetic earth, of which we're electrical beings, that we are so insulated from.
Negative negatively charged, or so, I don't know the exact science of grounding, but
honestly, I don't know either. It's all, we're electromagnetic beings, and the Schumann resonance of the Earth is so many hertz frequency, whatever, that you should be more in tune with. But wearing rubber-soled shoes all the time, right? Rubber's an insulator.
Yeah.
You're insulating yourself from the Earth. Hence the tree hugging, then walking barefoot, laying on the ground. Touch the Earth.
How do you think?
That's the poor man's version.
Yeah.
That's one of the cheapest ways to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Get outdoors. Go sweat.
I saw
You're
a
going to
tweet
sweat
recently.
too.
I saw a tweet recently that was like easiest ways to improve your health. Number one was get in the sun.
Yeah.
Number two was touch the earth, and I'm
There you
like,
go.
I agree with both those.
Right.
Because this is why I love the ocean so much, because if you go to the ocean, you're getting
all the minerals. You're laying in the ocean.
Remineralized. You're getting grounded. You're getting sunlight.
Yep.
If you talk about vitamin D, hormone D.
Hormone D.
I mean, we could spend
It affects
hours
every
on
receptor in your body.
Yeah. Even with COVID, because it was recent, just the studies that were shown about the deficiency.
Oh,
like
how many
globally
people would have lived
if they had vitamin D?
Had they had even a level of 45 or 50. I like a level of at least 80 to be optimal, right? Optimal again. The range is 30 to 100 most labs, and you're literally safe up to 150. It's in the conventional literature. I tell people, look it up.
Yeah.
Patients in Costa Rica, you just got back. I've been there a couple of times. Patients of mine, the couple I went motorcycle riding with, they lived there half the year. She did her labs in Costa Rica, and the normal vitamin D level is up to 150.
Yeah.
Right?
So take note.
Yeah, exactly.
Vitamin,
Right.
so if
you
you can break it down,
levels.
I don't really know a whole lot about vitamin D's actual function on in the body. Like what
it
exactly?
affects everything. Literally every receptor it affects. It's a hormone, so like endocrine. The thyroid affects all these other organ systems. Well, vitamin D, you need it for everything. Major immune booster, turns off cancer, the calcium metabolism, so many things that hormone D does.
Yeah. So, without question, the number one way to get it is
the sun. But if not, supplement with D3 is the better form, even combined with vitamin K, but we have all the supplements.
Yeah.
And I usually tell people, I was taught, and it seems to be true for sure, if you weigh 100 pounds or more, you should average at least 10,000 units of vitamin D at least 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? Which you would make, by the way, because when I tell people that, he's nuts, he's crazy. 10,000 units, I'm going to overdose.
Yeah.
No. If you were running around in the sun in your near naked state, right, in your loincloth, I joke, right, hunter-gatherer we were, near full body exposure in a bright summer sunny day in 25 minutes, you would already made 10,000 units.
Yeah.
We were not meant to be out in the sun for just 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? All day long running around in the sun. So
even if it's like not in the direct sun, you go from like a hunter-gatherer standpoint, you go hide under a tree, and then you're walking out in the sun, then you go hang by a cliff, and then
you're out all day long with near full body. You used to play baseball.
Yeah.
I've seen pro baseball players, right? And what they wear, hat, all except for their forearms, maybe
literally right there. It's called a
and their
farmer's
ears.
tan. Yeah.
There you go, farmer's tan, right thing. Even I've seen them, and they play 160 something games a year, right? A lot of sunshine. Even some of their levels are low.
Yeah.
Because they're not full body.
Yeah.
As a perfect example
Andrew
of that.
Huberman has another podcast on that.
Get out in the sun near full body exposure.
As close to naked as reasonably possible. And
running around in your loincloth, like I joke.
I have several times just
lay out there bare naked.
100% in the right. I mean, as long as my neighbors aren't like visible or anything like that. But it's the studies are also like irrefutable. There's
it's a major immune booster. Like I said, I grew up in Tucson most of my life. I remember these solariums, they were called, solar sun, that they would put sick people, chronically ill people in the sun, and they would get better. Oh, why? Because they were getting lots of vitamin D, which massively boosts your immune system. Yeah, we give these IVs, which you did, right? I did one yesterday. Ozone and UBI, it's called ultraviolet light. Your blood is being exposed to ultraviolet light as well, and what's that doing? Most likely, it's making massive amounts of vitamin D, which helps to kill infections. Yeah, boost your immune system.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a multivitamin.
Yeah,
if you can't afford everything else, vitamin
get a
D,
supplement,
what
a
else?
good one.
Iodine,
huge. We already had that conversation. Those are some basic stuff. Magnesium runs 75% of your body's biochemistry as a mineral cofactor. Again, we're all minerally depleted, so a lot of people need, and I measure it the right way, in the red blood cell level, never a serum magnesium. It's worthless. You want a red blood cell level of magnesium in the optimal part of the range, around 6 is what you want.
Yep.
Because it runs so much of your biochemistry. When
Yeah.
you don't have enough, a lot of things, you're not relaxed, you're tense, your muscles are tight, your
Better
heart
sleep.
relaxes your brain, muscle spasms, cramps, cardio, arrhythmias,
How does
all these
selenium
things,
play
constipation,
into it?
etc.
How does
Selenium's another. Every mineral has many
Yeah.
functions. It's antiviral, it's anti-cancer, it's a cofactor to convert T4 to T3. The copper, selenium, zinc.
Yeah.
You need all that.
And so the way I've been getting that is Brazil nuts. Is that
Yeah, Brazil nuts. It's said already shelled Brazil nut on average has 100 micrograms, and depending on what's going on, you need 100 or 400 micrograms, and maybe a little bit more. Just
Yeah.
depends. But all these minerals again are cofactors for all biochemistry to work.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, kind of forgot that. I went to pharmaceutical brainwashing school. Right. It's a drug deficiency you
Yeah.
have, but no, what's affecting your biochemistry and physiology again? Fix it. Right. The toxins and all. Get rid of it. Make your biochemistry work better, then the body will heal itself the way God intended
Yeah.
it. You don't need a drug which poisoned you.
Yeah.
Right. So salt, you're talking
Salt,
about
yeah.
the cheapest, easiest nutrient there is, right? Salt.
I got
real
sea
salt.
right there.
I put
in my water.
pinches of salt in my water. Now this is not just salt. Is not salt.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that when I was your age because I
Yeah.
was salt is bad for you. Don't do salt.
Yeah.
But I thought all salt's the same, right? Didn't know. But I was eating pretzels all the time.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Yeah, craving salt. Your body
Yeah.
will crave what it really wants. But anyway, salt from God's ocean or earth is a mineral bank. You are oxygen and minerals is the simplest biochemistry I explain to people. You need good, clean oxygen. That's why I love ozone. And then all the minerals. So, yeah, salt. You're worth your salt. You're the salt and the light. You're the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt, and you get paid a salary, people. Sol. They paid Roman soldiers
wow.
in salt, and plenty of people in history with salt.
Yeah.
So if salt's so bad,
Used to be
really,
a currency, yeah, for sure.
yeah, it was. Many wars and battles have been fought
Fought
over
over.
salt,
Absolutely.
mines, etc. So really, salt's bad for you. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was taught again when I was younger. Oh, don't do salt. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, they know what they're talking about because they're they. They
Yeah.
know. I'm nothing. I'm just a minion. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll listen to what they say.
yeah. So salt.
Learn.
I eat.
We sell salt in our supplement
yeah,
store. The good
I
stuff.
Eat, like
Himalayan,
Mediterranean sea salt,
Celtic, salt, Portuguese, all the
non-iodized,
from the ocean,
which is
or the
ironic
earth.
because we were just talking
And it
about
naturally
iodine,
has
but-
some iodine, but
Yeah.
the quick history on that, if you want to hear it, they iodize salt because of the goiters we
Goiters,
talked
yeah.
about, and that shrunk up goiters. They just dug through the
Yeah.
medical literature. Easy fix for the swollen thyroid goiters
Yeah.
100 years ago. They just need more iodine, so they iodize salt. And it worked 100 years ago because there was no chlorine, fluoride, or bromides in your food, water,
Yeah.
or anything. That's why it worked 100 years ago.
Yeah, and
But
they
it
just
doesn't work any longer because you're so flooded with the bad halogens.
it's also just so it's just processed iodized
yeah.
salt.
Well, it's refined
Yeah.
salt. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why do you have to refine salt in the first place with the abundance of salt on the planet,
Yeah.
be it mined, or from the ocean?
Yeah.
Why do we need to refine salt in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, you better think, conspiracy theory. We don't need refined salt. There's plenty of salt, but
Yeah.
you don't do very well when you get pumped full of refined
Yeah.
salt.
Well, and that's
You're
that's
lacking all the
probably-
minerals.
Like you mentioned, that's like one of the cheapest.
It is the
perhaps-
cheapest.
that's
Yeah.
literally salt.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
vitamin D, iodine, selenium. If you have
Minerals
access to
in general.
good Brazil nuts,
Yeah.
salt.
Salt's a good source. A lot of people
and
take all these
ideally-
trace elements,
Yeah.
mineral solutions, powders, whatever. There's all these brands, whatever. Poor
Just
man's
get your
version,
minerals.
get salt, natural, good salt,
Mm-hmm.
pinches of water. I do it all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. I think that's a pretty good base for young people, and this is what I mentioned
Young
earlier. I
or
wanna-
old, anybody.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a great point. But
Mhm.
I wanted to kind of break it down in two parts. First being the younger people.
Mhm.
Second part being people that are 40, 50, 60 that have either begun their health journey and they're doing stuff that like trying to take ownership,
Yeah.
or people that aren't and they want to, even though they may think they're old. What would you recommend for them? Is it any different than what you would recommend for young people, or not really?
No. Like as I said, people are people.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
More years on the planet, more toxins into your body. But how sad again is it with newborns? 18
Having
years ago,
toxins.
had 400 toxins in them. The amazing machine God made, the body, can only take so much abuse, whether you're younger or older. And That's what I tell people. Look at the A1C I talked about, the insulin resistance. That's what I tell people. Young, old, fat, skinny, I'm a good eater, I'm a bad eater, they say. I see it all day long with these elevated hemoglobin A1Cs, insulin resistance. Doesn't matter how old you are. It's happening at all age groups. So same advice to any human, an animal. That's a whole nother story.
Pretty much the same. That makes
exactly
sense.
Right. Yeah. And make it a priority, whatever financial stratus you're in.
The way that I look at it is,
you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later.
You're going to pay now and you're going to pay, or you're going to pay later. You can either invest in your health now or spend on your sickness later.
Right.
I also, the way that, I mean, this might be delusional, I don't know, but the way I look at it is, the better I feel, the more that I'll do, the more financial opportunities I'll be able to take advantage of, and then the more money that I'll make. So if that's the defining characteristic or the number one issue for people, which it typically is generally, I just think it's a paradigm shift, because I wish there might even be a study out there or something that shows the cost over the long term of not taking care of yourself. It's got to be exponentially more than just spending the money on good food and minerals. Sort of a little shift. We spoke about it earlier, but talking about microplastics, BPAs, and all that stuff. I mean, people don't realize the water you're drinking is out of plastic. The clothes you're wearing are literally polyester. It's plastic. The beds you're sleeping on are plastic. The sheets you're sleeping in are plastic. The chairs you're sitting in are plastic. The car
What
seats.
isn't plastic is easier to say.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
And there was something I read, and another patient brought it up recently. Supposedly, we're ingesting a credit card worth of plastic, whether it's every week or every month. Either way, that's pretty darn sad.
Yeah, Joe Rogan was talking about that. And even if it's not that much, it's like, even if
it's a fraction of that, but point being, the average American, right? So if you can see it, I show patients this, right? Teaching moments.
National Geographic.
This National Geographic from June of 2018 shows a beautiful iceberg, I joke. No, it's not an iceberg. It's a plastic bag.
Oh, wow.
In the walk. See that?
I thought that was an iceberg.
Yep.
Wow.
And then what does it say down here? It says planet or plastics. Read an article a few weeks ago, the plasticine. We're living in the age of plastic, right? The plasticine. But here, it says 18 billion pounds of plastic ends up in the ocean each year.
That's insane.
18 billion pounds each year, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Hence the cute, if you can see that. Right? And then this whole article, it almost makes me want to cry. I mean, even looking at it now, when you see this, beautiful artwork, right there it is. See that there, Nolan? That was all taken out of the stomach of an albatross that died from ingesting plastic.
That was all taken out
of the stomach. The art of plastic, using trash from the sea and bird stomachs. Mandy Barker's work forces us to face our waste.
This is like an entire table full of plastic.
Of bits and pieces. Like they threw it all together. It's a pretty, artistic little circle thing. If you can see it, I don't know if you can see that. There it is. Right. But then here, flip the page, and it says every piece of plastic here was found in the stomach of a single albatross chick laid bare outside the bird it killed. The plastic pieces from the bottle caps in the top row to the tiny fragments along the bottom all represent parts of something we could have once used, blah, blah, blah. Right? There are microplastics even in the remotest lakes on the planet because there's so much plastic everywhere. And it takes a toll. It's an environmental endocrine gland disruptor, right? So
I had
all the glands that dysfunction. Hello.
A moment during my Costa Rica trip. These are some of the prettiest beaches, if not the prettiest beaches I've ever seen in my entire life.
Sure.
The prettiest landscape I've ever seen in my entire life. And some of the craziest, just most abundant wildlife I've seen. And then you walk on the beach and you're seeing so much plastic that I didn't even pick any of it up because I was like, it's literally, it's like, I don't know what the word, it's a drop in the ocean. I'm like, okay, it's very sad.
It is.
And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this with Vital Glass is on the note of, or the philosophy rather, that if it's good for the environment, it's good for me. Yeah. Because guess what? We're part of the environment.
You are the environment.
Exactly. So
your environment.
Plastic's bad for me. Plastic's bad for the world. Plastic's bad for you.
Yeah. It has its conveniences, right?
Yeah.
We get it. But at the same time,
I'm not saying no
without consequence. What needs to happen, and hopefully there is, because I read something about this in the past, younger people, some young scientists, enzymes degrade everything. They need to have enzymes that degrade plastic. Degrade it into what? I'm not sure, but hopefully some not harmful goo that maybe you can burn for energy or something.
Sure.
Right? I went on a mission trip to Haiti after the earthquake, 2010, and I call it Porta Potty, Port-au-Prince, literally the most disgusting city I've ever been in, where literally everywhere you looked, there was, and I'm not joking, it was like this high, many plastic bottles everywhere. It was a national resource, I said, that they should take all that plastic, turn it into board lumber so they can build homes for these poor people, right?
I mean, that's
all that
crazy.
should be recycled or at least broken down. But point being, again, it's not without consequence. It's taken a toll on our health, your animals' health, animals, the environment, everything.
So BPAs, people hear that's like a buzzword.
Marketing scam.
That's
right? It's a bisphenol A.
Yeah.
If there's A, there's B, C, D, whatever other letters. They're all plasticizers.
Yeah.
It's a marketing scam, if you ask me.
Just
get rid of plastic, period. It may not leach as readily as other bisphenols, whatever, but still, it's plastic.
I actually saw one article, it might have been a study, but because I posted something on my Instagram about stop drinking from plastic, and we can get into receipts in a second. But BPA, it's an industrial chemical used to make plastic, and then BPA free is like this. It's all the money. The marketing, like, oh, we don't have any BPAs.
Yeah, it's
this one study
BS.
or this one article talked about how they found that the replacements might even be more harmful.
Yeah.
So,
is it plastic? Yes or no? It's plastic. Plastic is plastic.
Yeah.
Whatever forms, like I said,
Exactly.
different bisphenols.
So what do those do? My understanding, and you please
they
correct
ruin
me if I'm
everything.
wrong. Yeah.
Every pathway in your body, right? Environmental endocrine disruptor. I use that term a few times. All your glands, right? The endocrine system. They're all affected.
Yeah.
They pollute. They mimic estrogen.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the scary thing, right? And us two guys, probably 75-80% of guys I see, no matter what age, I check their hormones, but I also check their estrogen level.
Sure.
75-80% of them have higher estrogen levels than they should. Why? Because of plastic. What isn't plastic? I had a young guy, he worked for the film industry, 20-something years old, and I looked, oh my God, look at this guy's estrogen level. It was like 200 and something. It should be less than 80 for sure.
Wow.
Probably really less than 70, 60, whatever. But it was crazy high, and I kind of already knew the answer, but I asked him, I said, oh, how much water are you drinking? Oh, I drink like 8 or 9 bottles a day. Hello, plastic. Yeah, exactly. All these big, athletes, fit athletes. Same story.
Yeah.
Right, high estrogen.
Well, it goes back to that story of my
water, and
driver.
plastic. Yeah, the Ethiopian guy.
They threw away an entire trailer full of water because it was too hot.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think
Because
the contamination was?
Heat and cold leaches the phthalates, the plastics, even more so. That's why I said it's practically impossible to avoid plastic fully, because we all eat food that you buy in a grocery store that's wrapped in plastic, and then you throw it in your freezer or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But
We
it
got
goes
rid of
back-
Tupperware years ago when I learned about plastic. Right. It's all glass or silicone or something like that. Right. So you can learn and take steps to make better.
And that is literally.
And we all need to work together to get rid. I'm a huge recycler, and I hope to God they're recycling it. But you hear the stories, they're just throwing it into a landfill.
I hope not.
There's got to be some enzymes out there that degrade plastic and then turn it into some usable source of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real thing, and I think
There's I read, right? You might have read as well. Islands out in the ocean as big as like Rhode Island of plastic.
Yeah, which is
right.
That's
and then
hard
I've
to
seen
even
that
conceptualize.
they're netting it and gathering it and then getting rid of it. How are they? I don't know.
Where are they
putting it? Right in a landfill. That's why I said these enzymes. Somewhere I read about some young scientist came up with some enzymes. Well, where is that whole concept?
That would be incredible.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be
anything is possible.
The only thing I would that brings to mind in that front, in my opinion, is maybe it would make people think plastic's more acceptable. In a way, I'm not saying it's.
Well,
good
we're
or
not
bad.
ever going to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. But
for sure,
maybe make it net better at least.
Right. I hear you. Exactly.
Another thing, you mentioned it, but people are spending 8 to 9 hours a night in polyester sheets. What is polyester?
It's a plastic.
It's a plastic. It's literally plastic. Your
exactly.
clothes, for men specifically, they're
all these
I don't know if
athletic
there's any
wear,
human studies, but there's
right?
dog studies where polyester underwear. There was this one study. I can't remember who performed it, but they put a 100% polyester girdle on a male dog.
Yeah.
He was 100% infertile, could not have kids.
Yeah.
The good news is they took it off, and then over time he could produce.
Exactly
he could reproduce.
Right. The body is amazing. It can heal itself the way God intended it. But when you keep pumping it full of bad stuff, one step forward, 10 steps back.
Yeah.
You got to clean up your act.
Absolutely.
Detoxify.
Polyester underwear that is literally just
Right.
squeezing men's genitals all day.
Yeah.
Polyester shorts,
Right.
polyester pants, polyester shirts,
Right.
polyester hats, polyester socks, polyester shoes.
Yeah. And the grounding thing, go back to that where we talked about, natural fabric. Indians used to run in leather moccasins,
Yep.
right?
Which is
Natural,
conductive.
wool, linen, whatever. Natural stuff
Mm-hmm.
that is still in touch with the earth.
Yeah, I'm full disclosure. I'm wearing leather shoes with rubber soles right
Yeah,
now, but I ground.
I want to get some of those.
I walked
Yeah.
on. I walked on my. In our there's rubber soles, unfortunately, but
I see.
there's actually shoes. There's several shoe companies.
Yeah.
Raum is one of them, I believe. RAUM. Rizal is another one, I believe.
Okay.
They're leather or suede,
Yeah.
and they have
Sole
copper.
is copper for.
They have copper.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. Copper, another mineral, by the
yeah.
way. Minerals. It's all about minerals.
Yeah.
We're so deficient. And copper, look at the great conductor it is.
Yeah.
Right?
So they have basically copper
on copper.
So because
Yeah.
it can.
Yeah,
And there-
it's a conductor.
Exactly.
To
And
get it
people,
into your body.
There's another interesting video I saw recently about this.
Mm-hmm.
They had I don't know what mechanism they were using to test it, but it was basically to test the electric charge or something like that. And there's a guy standing on ground
Yep.
with this thing, and it lit up green, which meant that it was
Good.
working. And then he handed to a guy who was wearing rubber sole
And it was
sole
red.
shoes, and it was red.
Red is bad,
But
yeah.
then here's the cool part: the guy who was touching the ground
Then touched him, and then it got better.
that's
Because
just-
we are, this is very important, people, we are electromagnetic beings, and we're so removed from the Earth's electromagnetic field. All kinds of pollutants, toxins, 5G, all the different
Yeah,
things that,
Wi-Fi,
there's no
EMFs.
issues. A whole nother argument, right?
Yeah.
But we're no shortage of pollutions that interferes with our electron flow. When your electrons stop flowing, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? When they slow down, you're ill. You're not well.
Yeah.
So to keep those electrons flowing, and minerals again are hugely important for all that kind of stuff. Copper,
Yeah.
we're so copper deficient. Many people, all right, we don't get
Pretty
enough
much-
copper.
Tom Brady,
Yeah.
actually, I read his book. I don't know if you've ever.
I never did. No.
He's very. I don't know if I necessarily agree with his entire eating and philosophy, but
Yeah.
he's
We
very
all know
very
the guy's
in tune.
amazing, right?
He's
It
very
was-
in tune with what he's doing.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's putting into his body.
Yeah.
And I read his book back freshman or sophomore year of college, and he talked about back in the day, you'd say you ate a potato or a carrot, you'd pull it out of the ground,
Yep.
and even if you wash it with water, you'd be getting a ton of minerals
Yeah.
from the ground,
Right.
and then you'd eat it and you'd get those minerals.
Yeah.
That is not how farming works now.
No. Big
Especially
agra.
industrial, big ag, no shot.
Big agra is a
you're pulling it
horror
out
show.
of dead ground,
Yeah.
and it's got
Minerally
pumped-
depleted ground because
Yeah.
they commercially usually
Raped it.
only
They raped
NPK,
the
nitrogen,
land.
phosphorus, and potassium is all they fertilize
Yeah.
with. But wait, where's all the 100+ minerals God wanted you to have? When they started damming up rivers decades ago, right? A
Yeah.
lot of minerals come from the mountains, right? And
Yeah, that's
the
true.
lowlands, the plains, growing field. But when you dammed up rivers a long time ago, and then they, fertilize only with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, where's all the other minerals?
Yeah.
That's why food
Nowhere
is
to
not
be.
what food used to be, and we're oxygen and mineral banks, and so that's why biochemistry is not working very well.
Yeah,
And there's going to be a breakdown. Hello. Food is everything. You want good, clean food.
all of this, I feel like somebody listening to this could maybe get a little discouraged almost, because we've been talking about like all the toxins, all
Sure.
the poisons.
Yeah.
'Cause
But they should be aware of it,
Yeah,
because
the
out of
ori-
all bad comes good, right? You
Exactly.
can learn, you can change.
And so
Yeah.
what
It's
I wanted
there
to ask is
for the
what
seeking.
how would you encourage somebody, and why would you encourage them to take these steps?
Yeah. Well, do you want to have a healthy life, not disease-ridden? That should be encouragement enough.
Yeah, that's true.
but like I said earlier, a lot of people, they don't want to take responsibility for the health. That's the doctor's job. Well, there's always whatever different levels of people and what their motivation levels. But hopefully young listeners, like you're talking about, they want to change it,
Yeah,
right? It's an amazing machine, the human body. What's broken can be fixed. Things you hear that are incurable, no, you can cure. You can fix things.
the body can
Yeah.
heal.
So
You just have to
start low and slow if you have to, but
Yeah.
there's always step one, step two. Just whatever is acceptable for you. Set up some regimen. Hopefully, have friends and other resources you can further learn, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Do you want to get there? Is the main thing. Do you want to get there? All right. If you do, well, then you can do it.
Yeah.
If you don't, well, all right. Have a nice life.
And I think
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. I think it definitely depends. Some people, I've spoken to, maybe they'll come around, but some people, like you mentioned, it's literally just like
They don't care.
They want to outsource it.
I'm young. I'm going to live forever.
I don't know why.
Mentality.
Some people, I think it's sim for baseball for me. I always wanted to be like the best at baseball that I could, so I started trying to find little advantages and all that stuff, and it just opened my eyes to different resources and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people that, many of my friends, which is so encouraging to me, are like really trying their best to live the most vital, healthy, not even exciting, but just like the way we were intended to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Not disease-ridden, not sitting inside for 12 hours a day.
We're supposed to live to 120
screens.
years, it says in the Bible. Right?
Yeah, but
who's getting there? Not many people.
Have you seen the studies? Because one of the most common counter arguments I get for any of this, it really just any like of when I challenge modern medicine is life expectancy, lifespan. What I want to make a comment on it, and then I would like you to comment on it as well, and see if you correct me or not.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that lifespan has increased. Life quality has decreased, but lifespan has also increased because the life expectancy in the past was heavily skewed because of infant mortality.
Yep.
And so the people that did live,
they lived
for
long times, but they all
skewed.
mixed it together, which brought the overall number down. Mm-hmm. Exact statistic manipulation again, buddy, right? And even if you do read today, you read forever. Oh, the lifespan's going up. How much going up? 70-something years old, but barely going up by a tenth or whatever it was. But no, not anymore. It's actually going down.
Yeah.
Right. Again, if you're born with 400 toxins in you, look, kids today, they think they're going to live longer. Well, maybe, but probably not.
Yeah.
They're going to get all kinds of diseases, and hope modern medicine makes them live longer through artificial intelligence and biotics and bionics and whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's gone down, not up.
Have you ever read *Sapiens*?
Mm-mm.
It's a phenomenal book. It's basically, I think it's like a brief dive into human history as a subtitle or something, but it's basically just a book about humans and how it came to be.
Homo sapiens, okay.
And I want to say something, Noah Harris is the author, but in part of that he talks about the three revolutions, the agricultural, industrial, and scientific.
Mm-hmm.
And he submits that the essence of the agricultural revolution was to increase the lifespan of human beings while decreasing the quality. Mm-hmm. So these kids that you're mentioning, I pray that I'm not one of them, that my kids are not one of them, but these kids with 400 toxins, they very well may live longer lives, but what quality of life did they have? Yeah. And I 100% submit to the idea that if I live to 70 but my life is full, vital, I have a lot of virility and all this stuff, then I would much rather that than live to 95 and be my whole life just moping around.
Right.
So
crippled in a wheelchair, or half your brain's gone.
Which is not how we were intended to live.
No, of course not.
In my
supposed to die in your sleep. 120 years, die in your sleep.
There's another book called Younger Next Year. Have you heard of that one?
I might have heard of that one. I haven't read any of those.
I've never read it either, but the premise is essentially the same thing. It's we die this way now, just long and slow. When in reality it should be this: you live, die, instead of die.
Yeah.
And I think the things that you've mentioned and the things that you're doing are helping people.
Yeah, that's my goal. So I love what I do. I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And in my past, a lot of burnout in conventional medicine, whatever specialty they're in. A lot of doctors don't even like their job, but they just do it because it's a good paycheck, right? And they invested so much of their money and time in their life that they're not going to make a change, but it's a good paycheck.
Yeah.
And I'm following the standard of care, right? The gold standard, which was set up by those evil people in that poster over there, right?
The NW,
the FDA and big pharma companies, right over there.
The world
that poster right over there. Yeah, that's the standard of care, right?
Yeah.
So as long as the doctor's following the standard of care, everything's fine. But
I can
tell you,
he's pointing at anybody that can't see it. Can I take this off?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For people that are listening,
it's a graphic
that shows the FDA and drug companies
in bed together. And I wrote insurance companies as well because they're all in on
the patients in
a different bed, a coffin,
Yeah,
holding
and
up yet another drug that got pulled off the market. But wait, it was tested safe and effective. But right, then why is it killing people?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what a patient gave it to me years ago, and I point to it every day. With practically every new patient I see, and that's why it's there because that's what made me wake up. The drugs, like I told you about, drug after drug. That wait a minute, what happened? I thought it was science. No.
I do think it's important. Like I'm not speaking for you. My personal take is that I don't think that all of modern medicine or all of pharmacological intervention is bad, right?
Right. You need it. I was an ER doctor. Give me the drugs to save the life.
Yeah, exactly.
How'd you wind up in this spot in the first place?
Yeah.
Is what I want to fix and make better.
Totally.
And I stuck with ER medicine for few years longer than I should have, only because I was so excited about this cool stuff I'm learning.
Yeah.
You could avoid having this problem if you do this.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't take it any longer. In July of 2005, I did my last ER shift.
Started your own.
But I started holistic integrative stuff around. But I was a novice, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know much of anything.
Tyro.
I was a Tyro. There you go. Thank you for the
podcast.
great experience. It was a good podcast.
Yeah.
We can all learn, and this means teacher again. You're the doctor now.
Doctor
go
means
teach
teacher.
others.
That's awesome.
Docere in Latin.
Holistic Medical Services.
Yep.
In Atlanta.
Yep.
Dr. Frank Matalone.
Yeah.
You do virtual stuff as well. That's actually the first time I spoke with you.
Yeah, phone consults. Yeah, for people even in state, but a lot of out.
Yeah, first time I spoke with you was actually over the phone.
Yeah, you're right. I was.
And
you were in Florida, I think.
At school in Virginia.
Virginia.
Yep.
I'm leaving tomorrow for Virginia.
Oh, there you go. What part?
Lake Anna.
Oh, right on.
Brother lives over there.
Yeah. So Holistic Medical Services. Is that the name of y'all's supplement store as well?
Holistic, so Optimal Nutrition and Wellness is the store. It's all connected in this. Yeah. Either way, you get in touch with one or the other.
Yeah. Check them out if you're in Atlanta. I mean, you've certainly, and your practice and your wife. And the other cool thing about this place is me and my brother come in here the other day, and it's you, your wife, and how many of your family members?
3 of my stepdaughters work here.
Yeah. It's like it's a family thing. It's awesome. And it's a very good energy, and you've definitely impacted my life and my family's lives, and hopefully the people that listen to this and my friends and all of their lives positively as well.
And my patients impact my life. I love doing what I do, and I just want to pass it on. I have people that shadow me because I want to teach them. People from South Georgia and Tennessee, and another guy wants to shadow me.
That's awesome.
Right, because they want to learn, and I'm more than happy to teach them stuff.
And you do a good job. Right on. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much
Thank
for your time.
Hey, thanks. Always a pleasure.